Hey folks, it's CMS here. I'm back to share some of my inner feelings, but also to provide some tips for greater success on eBay. I promise if you watch the video to the end, you'll receive very helpful time-saving advice for eBay sellers. Let's start with how I'm feeling right now, if you'd be kind enough to listen. I've been having a really hard time deciding what to talk about here on my channel because of three major factors. First is the civil unrest and my strong desire to be supportive of peaceful protests while safeguarding my own businesses against looters and vandals. It's been taking my focus away from work and my channel. And as it should, because every American is dealing with some incredibly important social issues as well as the pandemic that will be changing life in the world as we know it forever. Second, I'm really green and inexperienced with YouTube content development, and in candor, I toil over it endlessly because I want only epic, fluff-free, and useful content for you. There's a real learning curve to this, and while I have over 20 years of eBay selling experience, I'm just a baby on YouTube. The third and most significant reason I'm dragging my feet right now with this channel is because e-commerce is way up, and while I'd like to help out my viewers, my own businesses come first. With 9 eBay stores and a substantial increase in volume and velocity, I'm working a good 80 to 90 hours every week now. Online commerce has proven to be very, very large. However, I envision that selling online will grow exponentially well into the future. I'm grateful to my customers for their trust in business, and I appreciate my employees for their cheerleading and support. Now, while many non-medical professionals would quickly call me a workaholic, I'm simply adjusting to rapid changes in the business. Workaholics tend to be less effective than other workers because they have difficulty working as a part of a team. They have trouble delegating or entrusting to others. Workaholics also tend to neglect family and friends. I'm not facing those issues, and because I love to create new jobs and keep existing employees, unless they no longer want to work for my company, I'm looking at expanding my team. But expansion only happens when the right person is identified and trained. I never want to simply add warm bodies to the mix who aren't ready or motivated to get work done. It's always a work in progress, and I'm always looking to improve things. Unlike people who are money rich and time poor, I do not suffer from time poverty. I simply love the mental challenges my business provides, and I can jump off at any time and do whatever I want to. I went through a period of time when I wanted to travel a lot, and I flew around the world a total of more than 1,000,000 miles. I loved the journey, plus I gathered up a lot of wisdom and scored priceless memories from the experiences I had along the way. I then came to realize that many people want to visit or move to Los Angeles, and I live in one of the most admired cities in the world. In fact, everywhere I flew on my global odyssey, I sensed that towns were influenced in some measure by their idea of what Los Angeles is like. I saw it in the decor in restaurants and in the things that people talked about. When I mentioned that I was from LA, I'd be engaged in long talks about life here. Now, getting back to the topic of how much I work, something I like to point out is that other than a brief stint scooping ice cream at the mall back in the mid-1980s, I never had a job, so to speak. I've always been very entrepreneurial. So I tell up-and-coming entrepreneurs to ignore it when people accuse them of being married to their businesses. It's just a matter of priorities. I very much enjoy my business, and that means the more time I'd like to focus and put into what I love, the less time I'd like to spend with distractions and needless activities or tasks. While I love my businesses, what I do, the things that I do, are not easy. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. It requires persistence, hard work, and skill. It's one of the reasons I'm focusing on making these videos because I'd like to share my over 3 decades of business experiences and 2 decades of eBay experiences with you. And I'd like to learn from you through your comments and questions. I welcome it when people question me and challenge my opinions. It's mutually beneficial. My best analogy is working out at a gym, something I've never really connected with, but my friends who love fitness explain that spirited debates between people is like working out with weights. The more resistance you put on the bar or machine you're working on, the stronger you become. And debating business ideas accomplishes the same thing for your mind. I find it curious when people ask for opinions, but then they become defensive or negative when they receive ideas that they don't agree with. I prefer to have an open and receiving mind, and when I've come to a conclusion, I love to share my findings. That said, if you'd like to see more of the content I'll be putting out, I invite you to subscribe and click on the notification bell, and I'd love to read and reply to your comments, so share what's on your mind with me, and I invite you to do so with wild abandon. One thing I've learned from offering online education is how important it has become to others. I want you to know that I take this responsibility seriously, and I'm proud of the work I'm doing to help thousands of people through this difficult time. As of the day I recorded this video, 141,674 people have watched my LinkedIn Learning courses. And my latest book, Start Your Own eBay Business, was #1 on Amazon's hot new releases in the retailing industry books category upon its release. And it is still the #1 paperback on that list today. This means that the content resonates with people. And the majority of the content I put out in my courses and books was curated from very smart and successful people, including top eBay sellers. While I am finding older workers are interested in using eBay as their next play after retirement, I'm especially excited to hear that younger people are starting eBay businesses as their first opportunity to participate in the workforce rather than working for someone else. Now, everyone who works for someone else works for a company started by an entrepreneur. As a part of my commitment to giving back, I'm focused on helping with selling tips and working to provide a beacon of hope when launching an eBay business. Fundamentally, I'd like to add value to what you're doing with solid advice. I'd love it if you'd leap out of bed every morning looking forward to your eBay business, and if you make a lot of money doing what you've leaped out of bed to do, well, that's just gravy on the biscuit. Today's eBay conundrum involves something every eBay seller is facing, and that's buyers who don't pay. I've watched literally dozens of hours of YouTube videos from eBay sellers, and this is a recurring theme. Someone wins the bid and fails to pay. Now, every time I run an auction-style listing on eBay, there's a fee for listing it, which eBay calls an insertion fee, and a commission when there's a successful sale, and eBay calls that the final value fee. I've simply come to expect that a percentage of auction bidders won't pay. It's just part of doing business on the site. With new sellers, this is frustrating because they're usually not listing a lot of things. With high-volume sellers like me, we've been at this a while and it's expected. With eBay's fixed-price format, unpaid items don't happen as often because when the purchaser makes the commitment to buy, they also have to pay. But there's a loophole to immediate payment, and that's when sellers enable the best offer feature. That puts an offer button on the listing. When a potential customer clicks the Make Offer button, they can haggle back and forth with the seller by entering a price that's lower than the asking price. The idea here is that sellers who accept offers are flexible on price and generally take fair offers seriously. There is also limits to how many best offers can be made per item. For most categories, buyers can make up to 5 offers. Expired, rejected, and retracted offers all count towards this limit. So here's the big complaint I'm hearing from other sellers, and that's having a buyer make an offer that they accept, but later the buyer never pays for it. What upsets sellers is that they're hit with a final value fee the moment the item sells, and eBay considers that item sold the minute that the offer is accepted. An unpaid item results in a bill from eBay, but no money from the buyer. And new sellers get discouraged trying to figure out how to get their money back, and in truth, it's not as easy as it could be. But the solution is both simple and elegant, and that's to enable a relatively unknown feature called the Unpaid Item Assistant. I've provided a link in the description below with details on how to activate the Unpaid Item Assistant and how I've configured it for the most effective and rapid recovery of my eBay final value fees when a buyer simply never pays. Now, many buyers will occasionally forget they bought an item from you or are new to eBay and don't realize making an offer that's later accepted results in a binding legal contract to purchase the goods. But the main thing for me is to rapidly recover the eBay fees so that I can then relist the product and offer it for sale again. Now, I set the Unpaid Item Assistant on my account to file a resolution center case at the 4-day mark, but eBay accounts by default cannot set 4 days as that threshold because initially an eBay account is configured to allow buyers 30 days to send one combined payment for multiple items. It makes sense that the Unpaid Item Assistant can't open a resolution center dispute for the unpaid item in the time frame that's less than the time your account allows to make multiple purchases and pay for them at once. I've also explained how to change the combined payments and shipping discounts to lower the time period for combined purchases to 3 days so that the unpaid items can be automatically opened by the assistant in 4 days. Once this is on autopilot, eBay will simply open the unpaid item case right at the 4-day mark or whatever number of days you specify, and if the buyer remains determined not to pay you, then it will close the case in your favor, refund your eBay final value fees, and depending on how you configured the assistant, it will automatically relist for you. Now, you should configure the settings to notify you when the Unpaid Item Assistant opens and later closes a case, so you'll have full transparency on the actions eBay is taking on your behalf. You should also set up the tool to request an eBay GivingWorks donation refund automatically in situations where you have designated a charity to receive a portion or all of the proceeds. As a side note, eBay GivingWorks was renamed as eBay for Charity, and for some reason the configuration page for the Unpaid Item Assistant was never corrected. Now, I hope that these tips will be helpful in assisting you with your eBay business. My goal here is to help you reduce the work you hate and focus on the work you love. If I've accomplished that, I hope you'll be back to view and enjoy more of my content. Now, at this point, let me take a moment to kindly ask you to please click that like button, and if you'd like to stay tuned for additional tips and tricks that I'll be putting out on my channel, please subscribe and click the notification bell. And if you'd like to follow me on social media, you'll find me by looking up the user ID Born to Deal. All my ideas, including these, come from viewers, so I hope you'll take the time to leave a comment. I reply to as many comments as possible. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I look forward to next time. Go get 'em.